Hi, everyone. Welcome to One-on-One with Sarah Gadon and Millie Davis. This is the third and final session in a series that is focused on casting and acting throughout the conference. We've heard from agents, casting directors, and producers, and now we'd like to hear from the actor's perspective to give us some insight into what it's like as a youngster working in this adult world. Millie Davis is 9 years old. Her career highlights so far include playing the stern but grumpy and lovable role of Miss O on Sinking Ship and PBS hit Odd Squad. She's also known for running for her life through the jungles of the Dominican Republic with her real-life brother Drew, Andy Garcia, and her on-screen parents Forrest Whitaker and Ava Longoria in A Dark Truth. These days, Millie has a recurring role on the hit sci-fi series Orphan Black and plays Molly in Disney Junior's Playdate. She also voices the role of Pal in Androids and Penelope in Amazon's Wishproof. Millie has also had roles on Man-Seeking Woman, Remedy, Best Man Holiday, Portal to Hell, and My Viola, and has voiced roles in The Dozers and The Magic Hockey Skates. In short, Millie is a very busy kid. Here to interview Millie is a very good friend of TIFF, Sarah Gadon. Sarah is an alumni of the TIFF Rising Stars program and has starred in a multitude of critically acclaimed film and television projects, including A Dangerous Method, Enemy, Maps to the Stars, and A Royal Night Out, just to name a few. So I'd like you to join me in welcoming to the stage Sarah Gadon and Millie Davis.
All right. You want to sit down? Hi.
Hello.
Welcome. We want to thank you very much for being here today and joining us. We're going to have a pretty chilled out discussion, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then later we will also have the opportunity to open it up to you, our lovely audience, and feel free to ask us anything work-related, not work-related, what we like for breakfast, what Millie did earlier today, whatever you need. But we're going to start this off with a few clips so you can kind of see Millie in action and get a sense of her work, and I think that's it. So why don't we roll those clips? How does that make you feel when you see that?
It sort of makes me feel weird just watching myself because I'm just like, wow, I could have done that better.
No, I think that was great. I think everyone agrees too, right? Right? Yeah. So I think that everybody's thinking, how do you go from here to up there? So how did you get into acting? How did it all start for you?
Well, my brother actually was into acting before I was.
Is he older?
Yeah, he's 12 years old.
Okay.
He's 3 years older than me. He was in acting before I was, and I sort of watched him do it, and I thought it looked really cool, so I decided to try it out, and then I really liked it.
So were you the kind of kid that had to, say to your mom and dad, Mom, Dad, let me act. Come on, let me try this. I really want to try this.
Yeah. Well, they kind of let me do it, just like trying it out, and then they saw that I really liked it, so then they let me keep doing it.
That's cool. I remember when I was your age, I really wanted to start acting, and I pretty much had to beg my parents because my brother was definitely not an actor, and I kept having to bug them over and over and over again in order for them to let me try it. So it's interesting that you kind of had the same experience. And do you remember going to auditions with him?
Yeah, I do. We would go out for auditions, like for Brother and Sister, for The Dark Truth, and Befriend and Betray. Yeah, we would do a lot of brother and sister auditions together.
That's cool. And did you have the same agent as him right away? Is that something that kind of happened?
Yeah.
And did you kind of know your agent a little bit before you started?
Yeah, my mom and dad were really good friends with her. So, like before I started acting, my brother was doing it. So she said, well, you can come with us. So we did, and we liked it.
I guess that makes it pretty simple too, right? When I first started out, I had an agent, and I've had the same agent the whole time. It's never changed, which I think is really good because I think then you get a good relationship with them, and I mean that relationship for you will probably grow and change the older you get and as your interests kind of change. So when your agent calls to say that you have an audition, does she call you?
Well, she calls my mom, and my mom tells me.
Okay. So she's still really talking to, they're still really talking to your parents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you think that will kind of change a little bit as you get older?
Once I got a phone, probably.
Yeah, I think it will probably change too. So tell me a little bit about auditioning, and if you can, I know you kind of started with your brother Drew. Do you remember the first auditions that you had with him, and do you remember the first auditions that you had on your own?
I don't remember the first auditions I had on my own because I was really little, but I remember one with him for The Dark Truth. We were in a backyard, and the woman that was doing with us was like chasing us around in the backyard, and I was laughing because I thought it was funny, but we were supposed to be sad because, well, we were getting chased by people that were trying to kill us.
So how did it go over? Did you guys get the part?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, well, you still got the part. Well, that's good. I remember the first time I had an audition. I was 10 years old, and I was auditioning for a movie, and they had sent pages of dialogue. I think they sent like 8 pages of dialogue. And I said to my mom, who kind of knew nothing about auditioning, I said to her, do you think I have to memorize these? She looked at me and she said, oh, no, Sarah, of course not. They would never expect you to know all those lines. And I got to the audition, and I remember going in, and the casting director kind of looked at me like, oh, you don't know your lines. And I was so mad when I came out of the audition. I said to my mom, I was like, you told me that I didn't have to know my lines, but I really had to know my lines. And she said, it's okay. We'll go around the corner and get a donut. And so we had donuts and just had to laugh about it. So that was kind of my first audition that I remember. Do you remember the first time you auditioned for something on your own?
No, I don't.
You don't? Do you remember anything like recently that you auditioned for that you liked?
I auditioned for, I don't know what it was. I think The Meaning of Life it was called.
Sounds heavy.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare for an audition? Because I know that a lot of, there's a lot of different ways that you can prepare, and so I was just wondering how you prepare for an audition.
I usually look over it a couple of times by myself, and then I do it with my parents, and then I sort of try and memorize it, and I'm usually really good at sleeping on it, so I look over it once, and then I sleep, and then I know it. But
isn't that a weird thing that happens? Because that's exactly what I do. I usually just read it, make sure I understand everything, and then I go to sleep, and then magically in the morning I know my lines.
Yeah.
And I hear that you kind of like to go over your lines on your own, and you don't really like to rehearse too much with your parents, because you do, but then you do it totally differently when you go into the audition room. Why? Tell me about that.
I do that because I like saving my energy up for the audition, so then I can do it like really full out, and I don't want it to sound like I've done it a bunch of times before, so I want it to sound like really new, but still like I know it and stuff.
I think that's a really good point, because I think sometimes when you over rehearse something and you go in to an audition and you sound like a robot, that's not a good thing. But then there's always that balance between not knowing it enough and then you're nervous. Do you ever get nervous for auditions?
Yeah, I do.
Me too.
But sort of when you get there, you see that the people that are doing it with you are really nice. So then you're just like, okay, if I make a mistake, they'll understand.
That's good. What do you think makes a good audition for you?
Well, first of all, knowing the lines and sort of getting comfortable while you're in there and trying not to be so nervous. Because if you're nervous, then you'll probably make a mistake or you'll stumble on something because you're trying too hard.
And what happens when you make a mistake? Because there are times, no matter how hard we try to learn our lines, and sometimes your nerves, they just get a hold of you and you make a mistake or you blank out. What do you do then?
Well, I don't go from the very beginning of the scene. I just start the line again.
That's a good tip. I'm going to use that.
So then I'm not going again. I'm just like, oh man, why did I do that? I just go again. And sometimes when you're in an audition, try not to talk really fast, because then you can't really understand what you're saying. And that's when you make most mistakes, when you talk really fast.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think also when you get nervous, that's when you have a tendency to talk really fast and rush through things because you're just a little bit scared.
Yeah.
Now, since you've been doing it for so long already, are there casting directors that you like, or are there casting directors that make you more nervous? You don't have to say which ones are which, but do you feel more comfortable with certain people over others?
Well, sort of. Sometimes, if I know the person better, then I'll be just like, oh, I know this person, and I can joke around with them and stuff. But if it's somebody that I don't know very well, I'm just like, okay, just do what you're supposed to do, and then you can leave.
That's good advice. The whole auditioning aspect of what we do, it affects everybody, and some people like it, and some people don't like it. I have friends who are actors who just hate it, and they really feel very uncomfortable. Do you like auditioning? How do you feel about it?
I really like auditioning when I'm in the room. Self-tapes, not so much.
See, I'm the opposite.
Really?
I love self-tapes, and I find sometimes auditions in the room, I get really nervous. But I think sometimes with self-tapes, you're totally in control of it. Yeah. And so I feel like I can really just kind of create the audition, the best audition that I could want in my dreams, and then send it off. Why don't you like self-tapes?
I don't know. I think that a lot of people like self-tapes because they can do it over and over again if they make a mistake. But when you do auditions, you can sort of only do it once. But I think that you already know it well enough, so you only have to do it once. And also, I like meeting the people and talking to them and see who the people are and if they're nice or not.
Yeah, that's a good point, because sometimes you can go in an audition and you can meet a director or another actor and you can really, really connect with them. And then that can help your audition become even better.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you meet a director and they're just not on your wavelength at all. And you think, whoa, maybe that's good that I didn't get that part.
Yeah.
But you do so many different things. Like you do TV, you've done film, you've done voiceover. So what's the difference between auditioning for something on film and television versus a voice audition?
Well, when you're doing a voice audition, you're in a booth. So they can see you, but they don't really pay attention and watch you do it, and they don't care about what you look like for it. They just want you to sound like the part. For when you're auditioning for on television, it looks like they're almost staring at you, and they're just well, this person doesn't really look like they can they don't look like this person, and I sort of like the way this person looks for this part.
So you're totally aware of all of that even at 9. That's pretty interesting. I think too sometimes with voice work, because I've also done a lot of voice work too, and when you're doing a voice audition, sometimes the direction that the director will give you is very, very, very specific.
Yeah.
We want on this one specific line, we want you to change this, or sometimes they ask you to go higher up in your voice, sometimes they ask you to go lower down in your voice. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, and sometimes I learn it in a fun voice, I'm doing a different voice, a voice that's not really me, and then I'll ask them, what about this voice? Do you like this voice better than that voice? Which one do you like better? Because I can do both of them.
You're because I got all the tricks in my bag. So do you see a lot of the same people at auditions? Do you see a lot of the same kids at audition?
For TV and film, yes, because usually they're people not that look like me, but are similar to my age and
same
similar
type, right?
Yeah. Same type.
Mm-hmm.
So we usually see each other a lot. For voice, sometimes, because if we have the same agent, then we'll the same age and the same agent, then probably, yeah. Not so much though.
And how do you? Because that happens to me too, and I think as you continue to grow, you'll see kind of different people come and go.
Yeah.
But how does it feel to kind of see the same faces? Do you have some good friends that you see often at auditions? What's it like in the waiting room?
Well, sort of, yeah, I see people that I've seen before, I've seen at different auditions that I've sort of met before, but not actually friends with. I was just oh, I've seen that person at an audition before.
Just hey.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Saw you at the last one.
Yeah.
And do you have any friends that you kind of audition with, or are they are friends that you act with kind of different and they go on different kinds of auditions?
Well, my friends that I audition with usually go on different auditions because sometimes they're in a different age group than me and are different heights and different looks and stuff. So they usually go in different ones. But
do you still audition for commercials?
I haven't auditioned in a long time for commercials. So no, not really.
Because that's kind of something that you really do more when you're first starting out, right? That's something that kind of you do it so you can get your actor credits and you get in the union and you get more experience auditioning, and then as you kind of progress through the commercial world into kind of bigger roles and that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So then, okay, so that's auditioning, and we know how you started. Let's talk about being on set, because that's the best part.
Yeah.
So what's it like to be on set?
It's awesome to be on set because there's a lot of different people, and you meet all sorts of different people like the camera operators and the hair and makeup and the wardrobe.
Yeah.
So it's really fun.
And what's your favorite part? Because before you even before the cameras roll, you've had wardrobe calls and wardrobe fittings, and you have your costume, and you have your hair and makeup done, and you've rehearsed. So what's your favorite part of that?
My favorite part is getting my hair and makeup done.
Me too!
Because I can see it's just like different hairstyles that I get to wear. Some are fun, some are just like usual and boring. But
and you're like, snooze. Well, I think too, though, hair and makeup and wardrobe, they're so important to creating a character.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you don't really become the character that you're going to be until you're head to toe physically that character. And it's amazing how different looks can totally change you.
Yeah.
And that's why I also really like it too, because that's a really creative part of our job. And do you find that people are open and collaborative with you? Like if you go to a wardrobe call and they put you in something that you don't really like, do you tend to just go with it, or are you the type of actor to say, I don't really think this is what my character would wear? How do you deal with that? I
usually just go with it because...
Yeah, you're easygoing.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes they make it and I don't want to hurt their feelings saying I don't like it or something. So...
You're nice. Yes. You're a nice girl, Millie. And you've already worked with so many different kinds of people in in the different worlds of media. We saw you up there in Man Seeking Woman, and I saw you up there with my friend Tatiana in Orphan Black, and I just loved the scene from Odd Squad too. I thought that was really funny with the juice box. So who do you love to work with? Who's some of your favorites?
With adults mostly, because... Well, I like working with kids too, but I like working with adults mostly because...
They're more on your level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And who's your favorite director that you've worked with?
I like working with JJ. Mm-hmm. He's really nice.
And he directed...
Odd Squad.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why? Why do you like working with him? What makes him...
He's very funny. Mm-hmm. And... he's sort of like if what's written in the script isn't really our character, like what we would do in real life, we would sort of pitch in and go like, oh, what if we said this? What if we added this on? And he'd be just like, sure, why don't we do that? And we would do multiple versions of it.
So he makes you kind of put your own take on the character. And I think that's good, because I think that sometimes you have a bunch of adults and they're writing for kids, and they're not really, down with the language or what kids really do. Yeah. And so if you have the opportunity to kind of chime in and say, actually, I would say something like this. And so he's really open to that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And does he ever do any improvisation or anything like that on set?
Yeah, he sort of goes like, he sort of says, well, would you feel comfortable doing this instead of this? Mm-hmm. Or do you guys mind switching lines because your character would probably say it, not really this one?
I think that makes it really exciting, because when we talked before, I know you said that being on set was like all day recess.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good kind of way to think of it, because it's like you're playing, right? You get to play around, and that kind of a spirit really, really helps you kind of become another character.
Yeah.
So when you're on set, I guess you're not in school. No. Awesome. But I
like school.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good answer. What happens on set though? Don't you have to do school on set?
Yeah. We usually have to do 5 hours, but sometimes we only do 2 because we don't really have enough time. I like being at school better than getting tutored on set, because usually they have to pull you out of when you're getting tutored a lot of times, just to take you to set, and then they bring you back, and then they take you to set. But in school, you can sort of be there and be like, okay, so we're going to do this, and then we have recess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that's something that people often forget when they think of kids on set because, when you're working with a child actor, they kind of come to set and they're like really excited because they've just gotten out of tutoring. So they're like, "Yay! I'm so happy to be here," and then they kind of just disappear. And, we go back to our trailers and have our downtime.
Yeah.
But you're studying. And so you're kind of working constantly throughout the day.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be distracting. Do you have favorite tutors that you work with on set, or is there a tutor that you like to work with or that you work with often?
Well, my favorite tutor is Barb. She's really nice, and she knows sort of what I can do in terms of the subjects, and she knows which ones I need help on.
Mm-hmm. And how is your school, the school that you go to? Are they really good at giving you your homework and the things that you need?
Yeah, they're really good with that. Well, it's sort of just the teachers that I have, not really the whole entire school.
Right.
It's mostly the teachers that I have.
They're either supportive or they're not. Yeah, that's pretty common, I think. And what about the other kids at school when you're away? Because you go to a regular public school, right? Mm-hmm. So when you leave and you go to work, do you find it to be, like kind of the other kids are kind of like, that's weird. Where have you been? Or are they like, oh, that's really cool. I saw you on TV. Is it good or is it just meh?
Well, a lot of kindergartens come up to me and just like, oh, I saw you on TV yesterday for Odd Squad. And one girl asked me if she wants to play Odd Squad with me, if I want to play Odd Squad with her, which was pretty fun.
Yeah. And do your friends at school, does anyone kind of at school ever give you a hard time about it?
Not really. Some just forget that I've actually been gone, so they don't really care.
Yeah.
But the other people in my class are just like, "Oh, Millie, hi."
That's good. I think too with friendships, you kind of got to work on them.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. If you're not there and you're not contributing,
you're
not going to get it back. But when you're on set, going back to on set, you're not on set by yourself, right?
No, there are not usually. There are a lot of people on set with me, like the crew and the cast.
And what about your mom and dad?
Yeah, my mom.
Don't forget them.
Yeah, my mom and dad go on set with me, and they stand at the monitors, and then they can see how I'm doing.
That's good. And is it both of them, or is it just one or the other usually?
Well, usually only one of them comes. Usually it's my mom. Sometimes it's my dad.
Mm-hmm.
If my mom's busy or at work. Yeah, it's usually my mom that comes.
Or they're busy with Drew, right? Because Drew's working a lot too.
Yeah.
So now I know that when I talked to your mom, she said that you guys have signals sometimes.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could maybe tell us a little bit about that.
If I'm not feeling well, or if I need a little break, I usually just wink to the camera and she's watching. So then she'll ask one of the ADs, just can she take a little bit of a break?
I think that's good, right? Because sometimes you need a break. Sometimes. Yeah. I think sometimes when you're working, sometimes adults forget that you're a kid and you need a break, and they'll just keep working through the day.
Yeah.
So it's good to have signal. And is it always just winking, or do you ever do anything else?
Well, sometimes when they're setting up a different camera view for about 1 minute, I usually go and tell her, because they don't keep me on the set for, they don't keep me in the same room, so I can go tell her that, oh, can you tell this person that I need 5?
That's good. That's really good. And we talked a little bit about the difference between auditioning for voice work and auditioning for film and TV. Can you tell me a little bit about the difference between working in voice work and working in film and TV?
Well, when you work in voice work, there are less people in the room. There's usually the guy that sets it up or the girl, and they sort of record it. There's the director that's there and some other people. I don't really know what they do, but they sit in the room.
And it's a lot shorter too, right? Like
Yeah.
when you go and you shoot something in film and TV, you're there from very early in the morning. You're working 8 hours a day, but then when you get to do voice work, it's
like 2 hours.
It's like quick. You're in and out, and you can do a whole episode in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And do you kind of prefer one over the other? Do you have a favorite, or is it just too hard to choose?
I like TV and film because there are more people and you get to meet more people, which is really awesome.
Yeah, that is a good thing. And do you tend to watch your work when it's done, and do you have a hard time, or do you watch it? Or?
Sometimes we watch Odd Squad with the family just for fun. If like a really cool episode comes out, and we're just like, oh, I remember that episode. Let's watch that one. And we keep it on our recording system, so then when I'm like older, I can go back and watch, and it's just like, wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know that feeling. So you also do so many other things. You're busy. You're really busy.
Yeah.
You go to school. You have this job that you're doing, kind of in animation, and then in film and TV. But you also do other things too on top of that, right? What else do you do?
I figure skate a lot. Last year I did it 3 days a week. This year just 2 days, because I'm getting really busy. I dance. I dance 2 days a week. Yeah, 2 days a week. And I go to do a musical theater class.
Cool. And what do you think, doing all these different things? I know you like to do them all, and I know they're kind of important to you. How do they think they help you out when you're an actor? Do they, or do you think they're really separate?
They're really separate.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to miss like a dance class 1 week or a skating class 1 week because I have something to do on that day. Also, if I have my dance recital, my mom usually books me off, so then nothing comes up on that day, so then I'm free that day, and I'm sure I can get there.
I used to do that too.
Those things are really important to me.
Yeah, I always used to book out for my dance recitals too because it was really important, and because you work so hard preparing for them. Yeah. And you also book out for other cool things too, right? Like you emceed your school assembly, right?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Good. It was scary because I think my school is like 400 people.
That's a lot of people. That's way more than here today.
So we were all in the gym. Well, everybody else was in the gym, and it was me in the center, and I was just talking about. It was a color house assembly, so we would give points to the quietest color house.
Cool. So this is like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is kind of a good place for us to pause our conversation and maybe open it up to the audience and see if you guys have any questions for us. We're happy to answer. And if I can just ask you to use a mic, that would be really great so we can all hear.
Hi, Millie.
Hi.
I have a question for you. I just want to know if you think you'll continue acting as you grow up, or if you're going to venture into one of these other interests or a school subject.
Well, I sort of want it to be a lot of things. I think I'm going to be acting a lot, but I also am really interested in being a marine biologist too, which is totally different, but
also just as cool.
Yeah. Hi, Millie. Hi.
I'm wondering what your favorite TV show is.
I like shows on YTV, like the Stanley Dynamic. I watch that show a lot. And Make It Pop is one of my favorites.
Hi, Millie. I want to know, do you ever make friends with the other kids on set? Do you ever see them off set, or does it really just become a work thing with the kids that you're on the shows with?
Yeah, I see them, like, once I meet other kids on set that are my age, we usually exchange phone numbers or something so we can be like, okay, how about you come to my house on this day and then we can do this. I see them offset too when we're having our breaks. And yeah.
Anyone else out there? Maybe in the back corner?
Hi, Millie. Do you have a historical character or a book character you'd like to play?
I would like to be in like a figure skating movie because I really like figure skating. And I've always wanted to do that and figure skate in a movie or a TV show.
Sounds like you're prepared for it too.
Yeah.
Because you're just casually training for it in your downtime. Any other questions out there?
This one can be for both of you. Is there anyone you haven't worked with yet who you really want to act with someday?
Whoa.
Good one.
In a lot of TV shows that I watch, I sort of wish like, oh, I kind of want to work with this person. Oh, that person looks cool to work with. That person looks nice.
I kind of think I want to work with Millie now. After spending so much time with her and seeing how cool she is, we actually have a lot in common. I hope one day we get to work together.
Yeah.
Like beyond just in this way.
Yeah.
How many days a week are you on set or going to auditions? Or does it kind of happen like all at once? You do a bunch of episodes and then you have a break for a couple months and then you do more episodes later on?
For auditions, usually they're sort of like spread out. There's one like point, I think it's in like sort of spring, summer, pilot season where everybody's auditioning for things in LA, which is fun, but you get a lot of auditions. And usually they're self-tapes because a lot of kids in LA are auditioning for them too. So you can't really fly down for an audition. So.
Anyone else out there? Having a little trouble seeing. I think we're good. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us again and for your support today. And did you have a good time?
Yeah.
All right. We hope you did too.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sarah and Millie, for being here. I'd like to remind everyone that we have our final panel session at 4:45 back here. So please join us for adapting content for the screen. Thank you again.
Thank you.